Hey there, I'm Kristen Dovniak, holistic health coach and certified intuitive eating counselor, and I'm also a trained chef. And one of the biggest tutorials that you guys have asked me for is how I make my homemade nut milk. Now, I'm going to be doing it with almonds today, but you can use whatever nut or seed you want to. If you want to do something like oats or coconut, it's a little bit different, so stick to nuts for this time. But I'm going to share with you what you're going to need and the really simple way to make your own nut milk at home. So the only things you're going to need to make your own nut milk at home is about 1 cup of nuts, and you are going to want to soak your nuts overnight. I'm going to do my best not to giggle like a 12-year-old through this whole video. So the reason why you want to soak your nuts overnight is because, first of all, it'll release some of the phytic acid, which tends to make them harder to digest. It's also going to soften them. So I just fill them up in a bowl. I actually use this bowl all the way to the top with some filtered water or whatever water you've got on hand, and then make sure to strain it in the morning. And then you have nuts that are just a little bit softer and they're going to be easier to blend. I recommend a high-speed blender for this recipe. If you don't have a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec or a NutriBullet, you can use a food processor instead. It also works. So we're going to soak our nuts overnight, we're going to drain them, and you're also going to need some fresh water and a nut milk bag. You can also use cheesecloth for this. I recommend the strongest cheesecloth you can find because it will break, and you'll see why you don't want it to break. And you can buy this for like $5 on Amazon. So get yourself a couple of nut milk bags. Mine is well loved, but this is about 2 years old now. I should probably get myself a new one. But it's been working for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our high-speed blender and our nuts that are nice and soft and have already soaked. As an aside, if you want to use a seed like hemp seeds or a softer nut like cashews, you don't actually need to soak them ahead of time. It's still recommended, but you don't need to soak them and strain them ahead of time. So we're just going to add our nuts to the blender. This is also about the time where if you wanted to add some sort of sweetener or some sort of a spice to it, you can do that right now. So you can add a date, make sure to pit it before you use it, or you could add some vanilla extract, which is one of my favorites when I want to use this for sweet purposes. Some vanilla extract is great. You could add some maple syrup or some honey, whatever you would like to make it a little bit sweeter. I typically make mine just straight up so I can use it in sweet and savory recipes, but it's totally up to you. You could also add some cinnamon or cardamom and change up the flavor that way as well. So you're going to add your nuts in first, and then you're going to cover it with water. So it's totally up to you how much water you want to use when you're making your nut milk. If you want it more creamy, you're going to use less water, and if you want it less creamy, you'll use more water. So I typically use a 4-to-1 ratio. So you're going to want 4 cups of water to your 1 cup of nuts. Today I'm making it a little bit less creamy because I'm using it for smoothies, and we like our smoothies most of the time a little bit less thick, and so I'm going to do about 6 cups of water, but it's totally up to you. The less water, the creamier and the more like a creamer, and the more water, the more like that conventional almond or cashew milk you would get at the store. So I'm going to go ahead and put the top of my blender on, and this is where I turn off the sound because it gets a little bit loud. You're going to turn your blender up on high for about 30 seconds to a minute until the almonds are totally pulverized. Once your nuts are all blended, you're just going to want to go ahead and let it settle for about 10 to 20 seconds just so the milk starts to separate a little bit from the pulp. And then you're going to take your blender, put your blender aside, and grab your big bowl. So you're going to take your nut milk bag and put it on top or over top of the bowl, but you don't want it touching the bottom of the bowl, and you'll see why. You want to leave a little bit of space. Make sure your bowl is big enough so that you're not going to be splashing. Take the cover of your blender off, of course, and then you're just going to pour the milk straight into your nut milk bag. So you want to do it nice and slowly so that all that's going through the nut milk bag is that milk. And then what's left in the nut milk bag is the pulp. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do this in batches. I typically do it in 2 to 3 batches. I'm going to pull up on the string, and I'm just going to squeeze, yes, like you're milking a cow. So we're going to squeeze the top gently, gentle with your nut bag. You're going to squeeze the top, and if you squeeze too hard, it'll go everywhere. I'm trying so hard. So you're just going to continue squeezing it so all of the water comes out, that beautiful almond milk, and all that's left in there is the pulp. So you might want another bowl on the side to put that leftover pulp in. But I'm just going to do this and I will do the rest off camera, but I will show you how easy it is. So just one more batch, 1 to 2 more batches of this. Only takes a couple minutes. I do this about once a week, and then we have nut milk for our smoothies all week long. There's no weird ingredients. If it does separate in the fridge, no worries. All you have to do is shake it up. So if you have another bowl, you can put some of that pulp in and repeat. Make sure you have some sort of container on hand to put that beautifully created nut milk in. And there you have it. Homemade almond milk, cashew milk, walnut milk, pecan milk, whatever kind of milk you want to make. Super quick. It takes like 5 minutes. You just have to remember to soak the nuts. If you don't do it overnight, that's okay, a couple hours before. But it's such an easy way to have nut milk when you can't get to the store as often, or if you want a nut milk that doesn't have a whole bunch of weird ingredients in it. Cheers. Oh God. Get it together, Kristen. You only have so many minutes. Whew. This is not going as planned.